You must notice as well that relationships really change when we changed, right? When you have moved from an old way of living to a new way of living, from ego-based to soul-based, from making it happen to allowing it happen, 3D, 5D, you start operating in a different way, and that has an impact on your relationships. Today I want to talk about the discomfort, the you getting used to how can I be myself while in connection with others that are not in the same page with me. How can I shine my light? Well, it makes other people feel uncomfortable, and most of all, what I want to talk about, the discomfort within ourselves, because the gaps in relationships, the differences become bigger and bigger. How are we navigating that? How do we deal with that? How we do that? That what I'm experiencing is actually the new normal, the discomfort in relationships. So I want to address that in today's video, so that by the end of the video, you're like, now I'm getting, now I know how to go about the discomfort. Now I know how to address that different. Now I know that it's all part of the big shift within me, and see it from a different angle. So those relationships become more comfortable for you. I don't know if it's for the other, but for you, more comfortable. So you can deal better with the relationships. Let me put it like that. Before we dive into that, if these are videos you like, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. That's fun. And share with others, comment below, and all that good stuff. All right, let's dive into it. I want to start with the coaching call, where one of the participants was sharing in the beginning how she said so beautifully, I'm not there yet. I want to be in a place, and we dismantled the whole thing, what she just shared, but I share it with you because you might recognize that. She said, in the relationship with others, I just had a call this morning with someone, and it felt such a mismatch. It felt so uncomfortable. I know, Alice, that I used to be the one, you might recognize that. I used to be the one that was building bridges, that was connecting with others, that was taking care of others in our conversation. This is her, this is the other, right? I would adjust so much that the other would feel comfortable, and I was there for the other, and super empath, right? Many of us are. I start to feel this is no longer sustainable. You might recognize that relationships the way you had them are no longer sustainable. And it doesn't mean you have to leave them. Sometimes it is, okay, we're no longer matched together with friends, and it might just sizzle out, or you have nothing in common to speak about, which is fine. But then you have coworkers, you have family members, you have neighbors, you have people in your life that you can't walk away from. And walking away is also not always what is needed. So we spoke about that discomfort, and she spoke about it from a sense that I'm not yet this powerful being that I know I am in connection with others, because what I do, I actually shrink. And you might recognize that, because you no longer adjust to the other, but she says, the more I am myself, the more I show myself, or have different opinions, and I have no fear of expressing my opinions, which is already a huge win and beautiful. Not everyone is there yet. But it's difficult, and I'm slowing down a bit because I really need to focus on, because it was a puzzle that we unraveled there with such a beautiful unraveling, that I want to take you through that process. So I might pause it sometimes to gather my thoughts. She said, I shrink a bit because I feel the moment I'm so much myself, the moment I'm operating from my heart, the other one is above me. And I can't reach that other person. And I shrink and I become smaller. And is that really the case? So we started to look into it, and there's a lot of vulnerability felt in relationship where it's not mutual, where you cannot just be yourself, shine your light, and be absolutely present with everything that you are, those relationships are wonderful. And they're good to have because there we also practice to fully be ourselves, to shine, to allow every element of us, the ugly and the beauty, to be there in that relationship. So it's great. But there's others where that obviously is not happening with. So then I said, so could it be that before it was a very heady conversation with that person, and you were there being heady? We are so good at that, right? We know things, we share things that we know, and we impress the others with our stories, and we match their stories so they feel acknowledged and they feel well, and we might shrink in the process, we might limit ourselves in the process, and what's the way we were doing it? We were just adjusting to each other and have conversations. What? For God's sake, nothing wrong with that, right? And then you start to wake up. And then you start to become more aware of yourself. And then you start to connect with the higher part of yourself, your higher self, your soul, your essence, the I am, source, whatever we call it. And I said, well, before you maybe were having heady conversation with that person, but now you're moving to your heart. And you showing up here while the other is still here. And she says, what I feel then when I'm operating from here, that the other one is building walls. I speak my truth. And it doesn't always have to be very spiritual things, but just an opinion about something or what is true for you. It might be very different of where the other is. We don't always have to speak everything out, I think, in every conversation, but just the truth that you wanted to express there and felt right. As it says, and then the other start to build walls around them. But my task has always been to level with the other person. As an empath, she didn't use those words, but as an empath, you level, you make the other feel comfortable. And here I'm in my heart, and the other one is feeling uncomfortable and putting walls up. And she says, and I'm moving backwards. I'm describing it in details because you might recognize that. And I want to talk about this because this is really important of how to address, stay with yourself and be in relationships where that is a mismatch. And you don't have to walk away, right? So bear with me, because now comes the beautiful part is, and I said, when you say that the other one is, you move backwards because the other one starts to be above you, is it maybe, instead of that being true, is it maybe because the other one is still heady and you are from your heart? And this heady way of conversations is we've been growing up with. And that's what's being rewarded. A lot of knowledge, and we know things, and we have stories, and we have this and that, and poo-ba-doop. Poo-ba-doop is not a word. But that kind of conversations is very much valued in this society. And now you're coming there from a heart space. Ugh, what are you doing? Says the other. Where are you going with that? And it feels uncomfortable. And I said, maybe it helps to not think that the other one is above you, but the other one is just from their head, and you are operating from your heart. It's just a different wavelength that you're talking. And it's not above, it's not better, it's not smarter, it's not wiser. It's not more a bigger castle with big walls around it. While you're just swimming in an open pond or a river or lake where you don't need any walls, so it feels very vulnerable. Well, I didn't speak about lake and castles, it just comes up now, but it's just a different, so what helped was, it's not above you, it's not better, it's just a different wavelength. And you no longer can bridge, because that's what you want to do as empath. You want to bridge. You can't bridge this anymore. So that feels freaking uncomfortable. And I said, it's really amazing that you do this, that you stay here while the other is here, and that you don't bridge. And maybe it feels as shrinking. But maybe it's just you getting comfortable with staying in your heart, with staying with yourself. And I said, It's perhaps maybe as when you get a new job or you move to a new town. But let's take the job. Maybe you have moved jobs in your life, and the first month or the first few months are so uncomfortable. You living in your heart space, in those connections, is so uncomfortable in the beginning. You don't know where the copy machine is. You don't know this, that. You don't know shit in the beginning. Let me just take a sip. And that is highly uncomfortable. And it takes a while before you get comfortable in those conversations. Now, what you forget, and that's where the shrinking part comes from, is that you were hired because you're capable. You're good at this. You just have to adjust to the situation still. But you know how to do this. You know how to live from your heart. You know how to be your light. You know how to beam your light. You know this already. So you're hired here. Let's stay with the job. You're hired for the new job. And you know how small you can feel in the beginning in a new job? I definitely know and recognize that as well. You feel small. You feel insignificant. You don't know. What do I really know? Because I'm so new here. I have to discover myself and have to find my space here in this new job. And feel comfortable that, yeah, I was actually hired for this. You know how to live from your heart. You know how to shine your light. But you're in an uncomfortable situation, as if you're on a new job. How do I deal with this? How do I manage this? How do I deal when I can no longer bridge that gap, when I no longer can take care of the other, when I no longer make the other feel comfortable? That feels, shaky. And she started with saying that feels so vulnerable, but actually it wasn't the vulnerability, it was the shakiness of that mismatch, the shakiness of not being able to care for the other, to be my natural bridge maker and connection maker. Letting that go, and then seeing the other starting to be uncomfortable. And building up bridges, and the conversation is, So what do you do? So that helped to see it different. And I said, you're actually in such, I'm amazed by where you are, with you staying here. Even when before you would go there all the time, because that was comfortable. And now you can't anymore. That's that shift from the old way of operating in the world to this new way of operating where you have no choice than to stay here. And when you adjust in the olden way, you will get sick. You start to feel tired. You feel uncomfortable, and everything starts to work against you because that's no longer your reality. So don't force that, please. And thinking that you're not yet there is just not helpful. I said, you're already there. It's amazing that you stay in your heart, although it's uncomfortable. I know you don't have a choice, but still you're doing it. It's amazing where you are. And that it feels uncomfortable is part of the package. It's normal. We all feel uncomfortable in relationships where we don't know anymore how to match. We want them to come here. But that's not always happening. So I said, you're in an amazing place that you manage to stay here in your connections with others. And it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. And it's supposed to feel like you're on a new job and you have to get used to how it is living from your heart, your light, while doing relationships with others that are not there. Without the need to bridge, without the need to solve that equation for them where it becomes more uncomfortable, is not your job any longer. I think it never was, but that's a job you took on. But that's not your job to make them feel comfortable. As long as you stay pure and from your heart and honest, and you don't always have to tell everything. Sometimes not saying things and staying in your power and not shrinking is also beautiful. whatever feels right in that moment. The most important thing in those relationships, that you, in this new way of living, stay yourself. And then in that coaching call, then it was like, oh, but I do that. And what I do now is I actually just speak my truth faster than I even notice it. Normally I would maybe think, shall I say this, shall I not? Is it wise? Does it keep the balance in that connection? And someone saying, but it now just ploops. Before I know it, I'm like, oh, what did I just say? But it's always coming from truth. It always comes. And when you say things without thinking, it's really from your heart or from your essence, from what wants to be spoken. And that is sometimes, ooh. But that's that new way of living, which is so from honesty. And a word I love to, might have heard me say that before, is honoring yourself by being true to yourself. And if playing those roles, what I do is not like I drop the role and I'm just now being myself. But what I start noticing, that I notice more of me playing the role and I'm feeling more uncomfortable with it. And I start to say things that are true to me. What doesn't feel comfortable anymore, I speak that out into presence. But I feel I don't have a choice anymore. It just wants to come out more. And yes, that might make the relationship more complicated, but more honest. And if it can't bear my honesty, then that's what it is. So let the other may feel uncomfortable with it, and give the other time to come to terms with that or not. And it's not like I need to force so much honesty. It's just what naturally comes, I feel. But you do you, right? What else do I want to say about that? So do you then always leave relationships or don't engage where such a mismatch? Maybe you keep the conversation shorter, or you see if you can shift the conversation a bit, or use language that is more closer to what the other understand, but you still express yourself. There's all these different ways you can go about it. But I don't think we have to shrink ourselves anymore. I don't think we have to adjust, maybe in the language we use, but as long as we talk about the same thing. We don't have to bridge the gap anymore. And know that with you being yourself, you give something to the other. You give an example of inspiration. You show that, hey, being yourself is actually pretty okay. It is safe because look, I'm doing it. And that's not the reason why we do it. We do it because it feels right. And this is the new human. This is how we feel we are. But don't forget how much you give the other person. Why do you think the other person will put walls up? Because you touch something there. Because you have the other person feel something that feels uncomfortable. Boof, walls go up. Because you touch something. Because you make them feel something. Don't underestimate that. You're not there. That's not your job. You're not there to do that. But that might be the effect of you being yourself. So if you have the thought, well, I'm just letting the other people drown, the other in the conversations drown, or I'm not there for them anymore, and I can't give anymore, and I'm it's so unkind of me. Just know that you give a lot by just being yourself. That's why I'm saying that, right? Yeah. I just wanted to share that perspective on, and that's what we yesterday we had a beautiful conversation also in Light Living. That's a new community I've created for us to talk about these elements of this new way of living our light, right? And someone said it so beautiful yesterday when we have our weekly calls there, conversations there. She says, it feels like we coexisting here. So there we really are all from the heart, and be honest and honor ourselves. And I love that term. It's not a co-creation, but it says this is a space where we can coexist in living our light, right? From that space of we're all coming here as ourselves, and we also spoke about many things, but one of them was, how do you relate to others from this new space? So it's a new community I have created. It's called Light Living. If that calls to you, feel invited to join us there. I have a link somewhere here below. Because there is so many things that are happening in our life that, like this one, normalize it. It's normal to feel this discomfort, this, and it's not because you're not there yet. This is it. This is you doing it. Woohoo! And yes, this discomfort comes with the package. It's part of it. So it's about you getting more comfortable with the discomfort because it's part of it. And the more you become comfortable with it, not that somewhere there I will be this and that and I will be so much better in it. You're doing it now, and you will shift it a bit and change it a bit and be more of your light and feel more comfortable in it, but not somewhere out there. You're already doing it here. You're already there. And you're adjusting and you're feeling more into it. And there's so much things of living our light that we don't talk about. I watch a lot of YouTubes and podcasts and all that. I don't hear people talk about this part. What actually living our light, all the things that come with it. And one thing is like grieving, crying. Oh, that's what we talked about yesterday in Light Living. The sudden cry spells someone was talking about. And I noticed that as well. And it's a lot to do with grieving for the things you're leaving behind. People, identities, patterns, which you have carried with you your whole life, which you have been acting out your whole life, and letting that go comes with a grieving process. We letting go of parts of ourselves that we thought we were. Crying is normal there. We spoke about memory. Just let me not go into that. Like memory changes, the way you can't hold things in your mind anymore because it's not necessary to hold it. I wrote a few things down. Making decisions in a very different way from your energy. I don't want to go more into that. There's so many elements from living our light. Allowance, how do you do that? And what is the complications of that in your daily life? That's the conversations I want to have with you. And that's why I created Light Living for you, for us, to coexist together in that new space, that new state of being. And normalize things and start to understand. And not from a knowing, but a more allowing us to rest in the discomfort in conversations with others and knowing that's part of it, that feel comfort in, okay, my memory loss is actually a good thing, or the crying spells is very normal. It normalizes, so we can coexist in a space where, and there's so many more things that I was looking at my list, but there's so many elements there. The way we go about money, about energies, about, it's all so different. I want to talk about that. So if you feel called to that, most welcome. This is the space for us to coexist. I'm going to adapt that word. Beautiful you. It was a tremendous honor to connect with you and share this with you. I mean that. I love you, and I'm looking forward to reconnect in the next video, or in Light Living for that matter. Much love. Much, much love. Till next time.